Hey everyone, I am back with more ridiculously fun content for you. Today we are playing more Regency Love. It's going to be so fun. So when we played last week, when I played last week, because I'm playing without you guys and you guys are just following along. When I played last week, I started a game where oh my. I introduced you guys to all of the suitors and had you guys vote on who you wanted my character to pursue a romance with. Hi, Salem. You want to say hi? Anyway, so we're going to be pursuing a romance with Mr. Ashcroft because he won 100% of the votes when we were doing our instant premiere. So I did get a comment afterwards that was like, well, I vote for Mr. Graham, and I was like, well, you're alone. But we're gonna go after Mr. Ashcroft, I think. We're gonna see how that goes. Let's see what happens next. Okay, so there's nothing available at Thornley, but because that's where he lives. But let's see what I can do. An unexpected visitor. It appears that you have been unknowingly receiving a certain visitor. Bessie is humming to herself while doing the dusting. She appears to be in high spirits. I wonder what has brought such a smile to your face today. You seem to be quite cheerful today. What is that tune? It sounds quite familiar. Let's smile. Oh, you will probably think me silly. Have you seen Lord Fat Cat lately, miss? I was just thinking he'd be so happy with all the sun. To be a cat and bask in the sunshine. Hope we're not begging you to daydream about... Oh, that's so mean. Well, as long as this thoughts bring you joy. What exactly do you mean? Oh, none of these are good. I want to be nice to the cat. Do you know that chubby cat that's been around for years? The one with the clever gleam in his eyes? Cat is a cat. Oh, yes. We love this cat. We love to stroke his lovely fur. He allows you to touch him, must let you pick him up. I can't speak today. Oh, miss, you are extraordinary. Mrs. Gertrude and I were discussing Lord Fat Cat the other day, and decided to bestow a name upon him. He is quite a fat cat, and has such an aura of nobility to him, that we concluded he must be a lord among the cats, hence Lord Fat Cat. Yeah, right, I think the floors need some scrubbing too, Bessie. Fitting name indeed. I think I'd like to meet this Lord Fat Cat again. Well, if he ever grows a little thin or loses his spirit, you might have to revise his name. You just might someday, miss. Oh, that was really sweet. Okay, so where can... Oh, a walk in the woods with Miss Ashcroft. Oh, we're bound to meet Mr. Ashcroft now. Invite Miss Ashcroft out for a walk in the woods. You suspect Mr. Ashcroft will be there to chaperone. You have arrived in the woods. Oh, it's beautiful. Good morning, Miss Fairfield. I thank you ever so much for your most thoughtful invitation. I hope I'm not taking up too much of your time. It is no trouble, though I am starting to find your skittish behavior a little irksome. Oh, no, not be mean. Do not be silly, my dear. I have looked forward to our walk for quite some time. The woods here are beautiful, and I do hope you will like them. My dear Miss Ashcroft, if I had thought so, I would not have issued my invitation. As it is, I very much enjoy your company. I also hope you will not mind my brother too much. He insisted on accompanying me and would not be deterred. Oh, we don't mind him at all, do we? Hello. Now, Ellie, I believe we are all permitted to indulge in any desire to stretch our legs. Well, I suppose that is acceptable. My brother assures me that he will behave himself. And if he does not, then mark my words, Miss Ashcroft, I shall give him a talking to. Yeah, we're going to talk to him, all right. I would rather he not behave, Miss Ashcroft, for that could be rather entertaining. You were such endearing siblings, I must say I'm a little astonished. Oh gosh. None of these are very, what do I say? Let's be funny. And I must ensure I give you no means to derive any entertainment from myself. Let's not be funny then. My dear brother always strives to excel in his tasks, and I suppose he has made it his business to be the best brother there is. That's better. I'm afraid we do not know the area at all, so if you could perhaps lead the way. You head towards a leafy part of the woods, of which you are particularly fond. This is a lovely area. It has been some time since I have enjoyed strolling in such a beautiful wilderness. These woods have always been my favorite spot since childhood. I consider myself very lucky to have this area so nearby. Then please do enjoy it. It appears you may need a little more advance. Oh no! As much as I enjoy such occasions, I am a little unaccustomed to indulging in them. My brother always insists that I should remain indoors and practice my brushwork, which, happily, I very much enjoy. You must be very accomplished. I do have a fondness for my little projects, though there is always much room for improvement. That's right. We do have a lovely garden with some of the most beautiful flowers, and I take a turn about it when I need some fresh air. Although the garden is charming, it is not comparable to these woods. Must be rather convenient. What on earth? No! The decision would rest with my brother. It is my opinion that young ladies should be cautious and reserved in their activities and associations, at least until they have gained a sound sense of judgment. I do not think Ellie is quite there yet. I agree with your ideals, but in practice, they fall rather short. How is your sister to gain her independence if she is not given any opportunities to develop it? I do not wish to be rude, but what makes you so qualified to have such a say in the minute details of her life? I believe Miss Ashcroft is perfectly capable of exercising her own mind. But really, though, how is she going to become independent if she doesn't ever go anywhere? I concede to your point, Miss Fairfield, albeit begrudgingly. Oh boy. I don't know if we're doing so hot with him right now. But I see you are giving dear Ellie ideas. I suppose she will soon announce over dinner that she has decided to venture to the continent, and will have need to deprive me of my footman and cook. I assure you, dear brother, I will do no such thing. Well, I might if you do not promise to invite Miss Fairfield over for afternoon tea again. I feel I am being threatened. Miss Fairfield is most welcome to join us at her convenience, even if only to witness the terrible consequence of her intervention. Now, dear brother, I believe you are being impolite. I am sure you would not wish to be deprived of your housekeeper, too. Alas, it has begun. Okay. That wasn't... In vain I have struggled. It will not do. My feelings will not be repressed. You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you. I know this quote. Where's why? There it is. Okay. I don't know how hot we did in that particular outing. Okay. What else can we... Ooh! No. Okay, gotta have drawing to 11. Oh, Phoebe's coming. Okay, remember the last episode? Phoebe was the girl who was having like a really loud argument with Tom, I think his name is, in town. Catherine, I'm so sorry I have not called on you lately, but it is so good to speak to you alone at last. The feeling is quite mutual, dear Phoebe. I do adore Mary, but she can be a little too outspoken at times. No. Let's not talk bad about our best friend. Oh, is there anything in particular for which you require my confidence? You're always so perceptive, dear Catherine. But surely you must have heard about the latest news regarding a certain gentleman. Perhaps Mary has already told you about it? I'm quite in the dark. Well, I thought you might have noticed Mr. Brown has been in town. Oh, Mr. Brown. I don't believe I'm acquainted with a Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown has long been a family friend. He and Papa rather enjoy playing chess together. Mr. Brown was gracious enough to have us at Norwich for a few months, during which I made his better acquaintance. Since our return to Darlington, Mr. Brown has been making his visits rather frequent. He and Papa still spend quite some time playing chess, but I'm starting to wonder about his intentions. I think it's perfectly reasonable for a gentleman to while away many hours on such a worthy game. Oh, Phoebe, it cannot be more obvious. Mr. Brown must have his sights set on you. Quite curious indeed. Okay, fine. Oh, goodness. I've broken it. Catherine, you cannot be so sure. But in any case, Mamma has been encouraging me to encourage Mr. Brown. I am not quite sure if that would be the correct thing to do. Oh, now I wish Mary were here. She would be able to offer much better advice. Do not worry so much about what is correct. Do you think it would be dishonest to encourage him? I suppose so. I do not wish to make any assumptions, but if he does prove to be a suitor, well, I would be quite flattered. Mr. Brown is a good man and is very calm and respectful. By which you mean Mr. Brown is the complete opposite of Tom Winslow? That is not what I said. Phoebe becomes rather withdrawn and soon excuses herself and takes her leave earlier than expected. Yeah, hit the nail on the head there, I think. She was a woman who spent her days in sitting, nicely dressed on a sofa, doing some long piece of needlework, of little use and no beauty, thinking more of her pug than her children, but very something to the latter when it did not put herself to inconvenience. I feel like I did this one last time. I think I did do that one last time. I only have so many, but they give me points, so. Alright. Nope, can't do that one yet. Let's go to the woods. You're walking through the woods when you hear a pair of raised voices. As you approach the bickering couple, you recognize them as Phoebe and Tom. They appear to be heading in the same direction as you and have seemed to master the art of arguing while walking. Stop this at once. I am not a young girl you can so easily scare. Oh, but the hermit in the woods does not discriminate between young girls and young ladies. He would happily make either his prisoner. Don't be ludicrous. There are no hermits living in these woods, or elsewhere in Darlington for that matter, with mock severity. And today we bid farewell to Miss Phoebe Ingram, who, after having lived all of 21 years, met her ultimate end at the hands of the woodland hermit. Thomas Winslow, have you no sense of propriety? Still solemnly. Indeed I do. It would be a travesty should such an unhappy end befall the innocent Miss Ingram. She remained silent. We have come here today to remember before God our sister Phoebe, to give thanks for her life, to commend her to God, our merciful Redeemer and Judge. She's still silent. To commend her to God, our merciful Redeemer and Judge, to commit her body to be buried, and to comfort one another in our grief. Phoebe has not said a word, but even from the distance you can see she is visibly upset. Poor Phoebe, you need not be so afraid. I will become your knight, your champion, and protect you from the evils of the woodland hermit. Of course, taking on such responsibilities is quite the hassle, especially when you are to be my charge. But I shall bear the burden at all costs. Miss Ingram must be saved. Phoebe says something very softly. You may speak up, my dear. You are quite safe now that I will accompany you on your walks forevermore. A little more loudly. You, Mr. Winslow, are a complete and utter cad. I would rather be kidnapped by the hermit than have you for company. Ah, so you admit that the hermit does indeed exist. I have tolerated you enough for the day. I demand you leave my presence, Mr. Winslow. Is that how you propose to address the hermit when he launches his attack? In a high-pitched voice. I demand you leave my presence, Mr. Hermit. I am quite serious, Tom. I neither want nor require your company. Oh, but we have almost reached town. It appears I have successfully completed my inaugural task as your champion. Phoebe remains silent and indignant. Phoebe and Tom part ways once they are in town, but Phoebe pays no heed to Tom while he bids her a lavish farewell. Very interesting. There we go. Tea with Miss Ashcroft. You have once again been invited to tea with Miss Ashcroft. You've arrived at Thornley. Miss Fairfield, I am delighted you could make it this afternoon. As am I. Mamma has been curious about your choice of confectionery, and has not stopped speaking of it for days. Thank you so very much for your invitation. You are looking well. I am pleased to see such color in your cheeks. Let's not talk about the sugary substances, because it already says that my character is gluttonous in her like skills area, so let's stop that. I confess I have thought long and hard about which particular culinary recreation to share with you, and I do hope you like what I've chosen. Alright, she's gonna make us fat. We are going to roll out of this place after we are done. These are the chocolate meringue sandwiches. Ooh! Another treat of which I am particularly fond. Do try one, please. Goodness me, they are spectacular. Yeah, they're going to be spectacular. It's chocolate, so, let's be real. That is such a relief to hear. Both the meringue and the chocolate ganache or filling are more French delicacies, but the sandwich is Miss Nancy's invention. She thought of how bread could be used to cover slices of meat, and proceeded to do the same with the halves of the meringue. Knowing I would enjoy them more for their inclusion of the cacao. Is that how that's pronounced? Because it's not cocoa. I know how that's spelled. If Mrs. Nancy is as formidable in the kitchen with preparing meals, then she is indeed quite a remarkable woman. Please do not think such. I know we have not been acquainted for long, but I consider you to be a very dear friend. I hope I'm not being too forward, but I have arranged another box for you to take home. I do hope your mother will enjoy these as much as she has the macarons. I'm sure she will. You're terribly kind. I wish to decline your generosity, but I suspect you will not allow me to do so. If you continue to display such kindness and consideration, I'm afraid Mamma will soon prefer you to her own daughter. That cannot be so, Miss Fairfield, for you are far more admirable. Miss Ashcroft appears rather delighted as she sips her tea. You are in high spirits today, Miss Ashcroft. I wonder if you might share why? Oh, Miss Fairfield, you are very observant, and you are to be credited, too. I found our walk in the woods truly invigorating, and I have been inspired to begin a new watercolor. Oh, I'm so very pleased to hear that, Miss Ashcroft. Should you ever need a companion in the future, or perhaps someone to contradict your brother, I will be at your service. It is rather extraordinary what a spot of fresh air can do for one's spirits. I'm happy for you, Miss Ashcroft. Look forward to seeing your painting when you feel it is ready. Do hope your brother knows of this. Perhaps it would persuade him to allow you outdoors more often. I would be more than happy to accompany you again, should you ever wish it. Yes, of course, though I am not particularly skilled with a brush. My dear brother has been convinced of your wisdom, though he may not willingly admit it. You have spoken on my behalf on more than one occasion, and for that I am much obliged. You exaggerate, my dear Miss Ashcroft. I would gladly champion your every cause. Oh, Miss Fairfield, your words make me so very happy. We speak of such serious matters. Would you like another meringue sandwich? I think I shall have to help myself to one. Oh man, we didn't get to see the brother! No! I have not even read the quote. To flatter and follow others without being something, and followed in turn, is but a state of half enjoyment. Without being... What even is this word? Oh my gosh. Flattered. Why am I so bad at this game? Okay, look at us go. Okay, now we are gentle, spirited, witty, amiable, and sensible. Those sound like good traits. Mama has heard some news from Mrs. Norris and wishes to discuss them with you. Okay. Catherine, Mrs. Norris has just brought some rather puzzling news. I'm not quite sure what to make of it. Mrs. Norris has news? Do tell, Mamma. Do tell, dear Mamma. Perhaps I might be of some assistance. Word has it that Tom Winslow has returned from London with a sizable collection of ladies' hats in all the latest fashions, but he would not reveal his intended recipient. Perhaps he will make a present of them for Phoebe. His poor behavior to her warrants quite the apology. Perhaps he means to wear them himself at the next ball. Perhaps he purchased them for his mamma. Tom has always had much love for Mrs. Winslow. That's what I had thought at first, but alas, Mrs. Norris has dismissed such a speculation. It appears that Mrs. Norris was there to witness yet another altercation between the two in town earlier this morning. Phoebe, the poor dear, simply wanted to discover the recipient, as we all did. Hers was a polite question, but Tom turned it into quite a public scene. He accused her of prying, and when she began to defend herself, he simply would not relent. After quite a row, Tom declared that Phoebe Ingram is a busybody who has no business in his affairs, and who will be the last person to ever find out about the intended recipient of his hats. But I do wish he would tell the rest of us. If Tom Winslow is interested in courting someone, he should not be so selfish in keeping it to himself. So weird. Mama, Tom has every right to the privacy he seeks in these affairs. It is quite obvious Phoebe must be the intended recipient. She has always been fond of hats. Perhaps I should call on him and see if I can extract any information. I still think it's Phoebe. If that were so, then why would Tom treat her in such an appalling manner, and in the market square, no less? No, the hats cannot be for Phoebe. Tom Winslow and his mysterious hats. Well, that makes me wonder if you will ever be courted with hats. No, I do not care about hats. Just a husband would do. Perhaps Tom Winslow means to gift me with his hats. No, we're not. Tom is not one of our suitors. Yes, Mama, I'll do my best to secure myself a happy marriage. Yeah, let's be a dutiful daughter. Well, it seems you need to be doing a bit better than your best. Oh my gosh, Burn. Enough of this idle talk. Why are you not practicing your accomplishments? Go and refine your skills before you find yourself an old maid. Man, you guys gotta give me a break. Where's the... that would not dare to fight for such a land. I don't know. Okay, I'm not paying enough attention. All right, what else can... Oh, yes, let's entertain Miss Ashcroft at our house. You've invited Miss Ashcroft over for afternoon tea. Maybe if we, really get in good with the sister, we'll see the brother more often. What do you think? Miss Fairfield, thank you so much for inviting me to tea. You have such a lovely house. I thought perhaps it was time to reciprocate your kindness, though I am afraid our cakes are nowhere near as exquisite as your selection of delicacies. But I do believe it is the company that makes the tea so wonderful, and you are unequaled in that regard. I must admit this is the first time I have taken tea at a friend's home. I have called upon my brother's companions numerous times, but you are the first of my close acquaintances. You are most welcome here any time, Miss Ashcroft. Truly, thank you. She seems to be a little nervous, though she must be granted credit for attempting to appear otherwise. Shall we take some tea, then? Please, try some scones. Miss Fairfield, these are lovely. You are being untruthful, Miss Ashcroft, for your delicacies are far superior. Oh, they are nothing compared to what you have offered me. I confess I feel a little guilty that we do not have as much to offer. As you have noticed, I have quite the preference for sweets. It has been a long time since I had anything savory, and you must trust me when I say that these are truly delightful. All right. I must watch myself, for I fear I may spoil myself for dinner. Ah, I believe you are now experiencing the exact sentiments that overwhelm me when I call on you for tea. Oh my gosh, look at this. That suits me perfectly, and I will now help myself to your portion, too. Please, you have no need to restrain yourself. I'm sure your brother will understand. I shall endure my dilemma without further complaint. As you continue to sip your tea and nibble your scone, you and Miss Ashcroft engage in some light conversation about the walks, the weather, and the latest watercolors. Soon Mr. Ashcroft's presence is announced. Here he comes. Oh, how the time has gone. I believe my brother is here to collect me. Miss Fairfield, I do hope Ellie did not present too much of an imposition for you this afternoon. Nowhere near as much as I had feared, though I suspect you would be far more difficult to entertain. Jeez. Oh, she was such a nightmare that I am in complete shambles. Please, Mr. Ashcroft, do rescue me and take her home before she can wreak me more havoc. Okay, quite the contrary, Mr. Ashcroft, for she has been quite the favorable companion. I am strangely relieved to hear it. My dear brother, I have enjoyed myself thoroughly. Miss Fairfield has been most accommodating. Miss Fairfield, I am much obliged for your kindness towards my sister. As I am obliged for both your generosity towards me. We shall not intrude any further. Have a good day, Miss Fairfield. I hope to see you again soon. And you shall. Have a safe journey home. Shortly after the Ashcrofts leave, your mother enters the drawing room. Catherine, was that young gentleman Mr. Ashcroft? Is none of your concern. I hope you're not eavesdropping. It was. You appear to have thoughts. I have thoughts. He is very handsome indeed, and very considerate to show such care for his sister. Do you know if there is a Mrs. Ashcroft? There must be one, just as you bear the title of Mrs. Fairfield. Let us not speak of such matters. Mamma, this is none of our business. I am simply acquainted with Miss Ashcroft, and her brother's affairs do not concern me. Silly child, I am not speaking of their mother. As for Miss Ashcroft, she is a very sweet girl, no doubt, though a little pale and almost sickly. I suspect a lot of it came from nerves, so I've told her not to be so anxious. Do not be so kind, she's my friend. Suppose you were right. Do hope she is not unwell. It is very thoughtful of her to always send you home with a box of delicacies, and her brother is most handsome. You should maintain your acquaintance with them, Catherine. Mamma, I neither need your permission nor your encouragement where my personal acquaintances are concerned. Yes, Mamma. I admit I have found Mr. Ashcroft very charming on several occasions. Very good, Catherine. I am quite pleased to hear it. Now, go along and give poor Mrs. Gertrude a hand for dinner. She has worked very hard today to accommodate your guest. There we go. All right. What do we have? Lots. Okay, we've got everything up to 13. Nope. Okay. Ice cream. Goodness, there's so much to choose from. Mother's errands. You have arrived in town. You see Miss Ashcroft, who is admiring a selection of fine hats. She notices your presence and, after a brief moment of hesitation, makes her way towards you. Oh, Miss Fairfield, how unexpected to see you here. And you, Miss Ashcroft, how are you today? Very well, thank you. Miss Fairfield, I was wondering if you would like to perhaps... Before Miss Ashcroft can finish wording her request, she is interrupted by Mr. Ashcroft, who is approaching his sister with haste. Eleanor, I have received news of some urgent business, and I'm afraid we must head back. There is a slight pause as Mr. Ashcroft realizes your presence. Ah, good day, Miss Fairfield. I hope you are well. As much as I appreciate these pleasantries, it appears you have other matters to which you must attend. Thank you. You are most considerate. I apologize to be in such haste, but I have received some news which requires my immediate attention. Eleanor and I must take our leave. Could I perhaps remain a little longer? There are so many more things I wish to see, and goods I wish to browse. I would not have to be alone if Miss Fairfield is to accompany me. Now, Eleanor, it is impolite to assume that Miss Fairfield would be happy to provide such company. You are correct. I am so sorry to be rude. Mr. Ashcroft, I would not mind keeping your sister company as you attend to your business. You are very kind, Miss Fairfield. Perhaps not today. Ellie, could we perhaps arrange another time for you to return to town with Miss Fairfield when there is a little more notice and when it might be more convenient for her? Oh, yes, that would be wonderful, dear brother. Miss Fairfield, would I be able to entreat you to join me on such an excursion? I'll have to find a time. That's a splendid idea. Sure. My thanks, Miss Fairfield. Now, Eleanor, we really must leave. Good day, Miss Fairfield. A large something is the best recipe for happiness I've ever heard. A large chocolate chip cookie. What is this word? What is this word? Income. A large income is the best recipe for happiness I have ever heard of. Ain't that the truth? Okay, Mary. School, library. Okay, let's get some of these like random ones out of the way. Gossiping Darlington. The townsfolk of Darlington react to the news of a new school being built at Lambton Hall. Why, Miss Fairfield, you are about. Oh, I have heard such distressing news and I must share them with you immediately. Must all your news be so distressing? Whatever happened to joyful tidings? Do not be so unkind to the bearer of bad news. My dear cousin, Mr. Hudson, once occupied Lambton Hall. Are you familiar with it? Surely you must be. I believe we all visited at some point, though perhaps you were too young to remember the excursion. Now, Mr. Hudson has relocated his family to London, though I do not know why. Such a dreadfully loud and nasty place with the most unkempt folks everywhere. Oh, I do not know what he was thinking, my foolish cousin. I'm sure London has much to recommend itself. After all, my aunt resides there. Yes, well, Lady Rossington is another matter entirely, and though I disapprove of her also, I shan't ask you to divide your allegiances. But enough of London. What I find even more distressing, though the thought of poor Mr. Hudson in London is quite comparable, is the news of Lambton Hall being lately purchased to be turned into a school. Shock. Oh, Miss Fairfield, are we to disregard all niceties of polite society? Because this school, I almost do not wish to voice it, lest my utterances become a prophecy, is to be for all manner of children, regardless of parentage. What? To think that those children will be spending their time in schoolrooms rather than learning to plow fields and churn butter, I fear what will become of us all if farmers and laborers learn how to read and think. What on earth? Sorry, hold on. Let's keep going. We'll all be more civil and learned. A favorable result, do you not think? Heavens, no, not at all. What hideous ideas have gotten into your head, child? Oh, I must leave now, lest you contaminate me. What on earth is wrong with her? Okay, Mr. Elton's proposal to Emma. No, upon my honor, there is no unsteadiness of character. I have thought only of you. I protest against having paid the smallest attention to anyone else. Everything that I have said or done for many weeks past has been with the sole view of marking my blank of yourself. I don't remember what this word is. Adoration. All right. We're doing good. Mary calls. Catherine, you look tremendously well. There seems to be a certain flourish in your cheeks ever since I saw you last. My dear Mary, you are being too kind. You look rather well yourself. I trust your family as well. They are indeed. Now, do you know Lambton Hall? I think the Hudsons occupied it for a while, though it has been empty since they left 2 years ago. Oh, yes, I remember. It had a lovely bit of garden, too. Mrs. Hudson had me for tea once, and the prospect from the drawing-room window was most charming. The very one. Mamma heard from Mrs. Norris this morning that the hall has been sold and the new proprietor intends to open up a school for anyone who wishes to receive an education. What a strange thing to do. Wow, what a great thing to do. What a peculiar endeavor. Let it never be said that such fascinating events do not occur in Darlington. I think it's a rather charming idea. There's certainly enough room for quite a number of students. My dear Catherine, sometimes you have such a peculiar way of thinking. I wonder if the proprietor is anyone we know. I think Mamma will make some inquiries. If she does not, then I am sure Mrs. Norris certainly will. That nosy busybody sure will. Well, that is really the only news I bring you. Now, do you remember how we last spoke of the benefits of changing the upholstery for the next season? You and Mary continue to drink your tea and speak for a fair while longer. Some folks rail against other folks because other folks have what some folks would be blank of. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Gentle chores. Okay, hang on. Town. Let's go to the library. You're browsing through the latest editions of Mr. Chappell's Lending Library. Mrs. Norris approaches you. Miss Fairfield, I have with me the latest news about Mr. Winslow and Miss Ingram, and all the ruckus they have been causing in Darlington. If I only had known Mr. Winslow would become such a loud, undignified young man, I would have stepped in during his childhood. You know, I kept telling Mrs. Winslow she ought to be more strict with her son, but that woman kept insisting I mind my own business, which I thought was a great affront. Everything that happens in Darlington affects me directly, if I may say so myself. Just look at me now, being so distressed after yet another public display by Mr. Winslow and Miss Ingram. I am quite unhappy with their constant disruption of the general peace, though I suppose they do provide a good example on how not to behave. I hope you are paying close attention, Miss Fairfield, for I rarely dispense my wisdom so freely. I believe you are speaking of Mr. Winslow and Miss Ingram. Well, so this latest transgression, Mr. Winslow was declaring, rather loudly I might add, that he has commissioned an order of no less than half a dozen dresses from Mr. Murray, all in the latest fashion with the finest fabrics. He was, of course, declaring this to Miss Ingram, who said all sorts of unsavory things to Mr. Winslow, which I shan't repeat here. Now, I agree with Miss Ingram's sentiments. After all, Mr. Winslow deserves to be reprimanded. But she should not have been so brazen in her disapproval, as she only succeeded in making him laugh even more, while he continued with his taunts in an utterly despicable manner. Oh, Miss Fairfield, if you only knew what I suffer! They are both guilty of behaving in a shameful way, and of ruining my enjoyment of the day. Why must young men of Darlington cause such scandal? Why can't they not be more like Mr. Digby? Now, Mr. Digby, as you know, possesses all the qualities of a good and virtuous gentleman. He would never have caused such a scene, or squander away such a large amount of money on so few frilly gowns. Yes, Mr. Winslow would benefit greatly from spending some time with Mr. Digby, and learn from his superior example. Yes, I must see to such an arrangement. Intent on her new task, Mrs. Norris leaves you without a further word. Oh, my word. This Tom and Phoebe storyline is kind of fun. A country dance. The Winslows have returned from some time abroad and decide to hold a country dance in the assembly rooms. You walk by Mr. Winslow and Mr. Digby, who are deep in conversation. Oh my gosh, she did it! She got them to be friends. I have always admired your enthusiasm, Mr. Winslow, but a happy marriage must be respectable above all else. Look at Mr. Dopey. Look at him. Just look at him. No, that would not do. If marriage were only respectable, then it would be such a bore, and so without meaning. But it is not for us to concern ourselves with what might be boring. As husbands and as gentlemen, we must perform our duties in providing for our wife and our children. Yes, well, duty is all well enough, but I tell you, there must be something more in a marriage. A spark, a fire, a meeting of minds, a collision of temper and vivacity. And your chosen wife, well, she must be the only one who can inspire such passions. She must be moved in your presence, and you in hers. A faraway look takes over Tom's expression and becomes rather quiet and content. Mr. Digby, on the other hand, appears to be a great deal more confused than before. Oh, Phoebe, I do love the embroidered additions you have made to your dress. You must teach me how to achieve such an effect. Dearest Mary, you forget I've shown it to you many times. There is only so much an instructor can do when the pupil is unwilling to practice. But needlework can be so very tedious. Ah, it seems we may have company. Mary, Catherine, you both look splendid this evening. I have never come across any ladies who are more dazzling than you two. Kisses Mary's hand and then yours. Always the flatterer, Tom. Ah, but I hear no objection from you. True. And if you would not object, might I have the pleasure of standing with you for the next 2 dances? Certainly, you may, so long as you promise not to embarrass me in front of all our friends. With exaggerated remorse. It seems my transgressions as a boy of 12 will remain with me evermore, though I must remind you that the dancing master praised your ability to continue your steps despite my blundering. No, Tom, do not try to take any credit for my accomplishments. Bowing, I wouldn't think of it. And you, Catherine, would you oblige me with a dance or two? Before you can answer, Phoebe interrupts your conversation. Mary this, Catherine that. What of Phoebe? I've long known you've lost your mind, or perhaps you never had any to begin with, but now your manners have fallen beyond reprieve. Oh, Miss Phoebe, I had thought you were part of the decor, and I did not recognize you. Ah, but there is your customary scowl. Yes, I see you now. You are simply despicable. And I suppose you wish to dance with my despicable self? Absolutely not. You, sir, are a cad of the highest order, and I do not wish to dance with someone as rude and awful as you. My, you're starting to sound like an old jealous crow, with far too many empty spaces on her dance card. Perhaps you should go play cards with the spinsters, for that's what you will become. Jeez. You. Phoebe turns and walks away, but not before you see the tears slipping down her cheeks. Annoyed. We all understand the occasional jesting, but why must you sometimes go beyond what's acceptable? Honestly, Tom, perhaps you need to remind yourself you are no longer a boy of 12. Mary gives Tom another disapproving look before leaving to comfort Phoebe. Well, that could have gone better. I do not know what kind of regard you hold for Phoebe, but if you wish to maintain her friendship, this is not how you should behave. Mary and Phoebe are both right. You really ought to mind your manners. We have always loved your boisterous personality, but now you are simply callous. Could have gone much worse. I enjoy seeing Phoebe cry. Oh, no! Mean. What do you suppose I should do? Perhaps you should offer her a simple, heartfelt apology. Phoebe is kind and gentle, and she will forgive you if you are insincere. Perhaps you should do nothing. Perhaps you should make a grand gesture. Just apologize to her. Oh, but that all sounds like such a bother and a waste of time. But I do appreciate your advice, Catherine. And it seems my inclination to dance has been lost, only to be replaced by a sudden thirst. To the drinks table I shall go. Oh, look, we're tolerable now. Good for us. Ooh, a letter. You receive an invitation to attend a picnic. Yes, let's go on a picnic. Dear Catherine, if you are not otherwise engaged on Wednesday next, I would be delighted if you could attend a picnic with some of our friends and myself. We will travel by carriage and arrive at your gates at 11 o'clock in the morning. Yours, etc., Tom Winslow. It's from Tom. Mr. Tilney's feelings. He felt himself bound as much in honor as in blank to Miss Morland, and believing that heart to be his own, which had been directed to gain no unworthy retraction of a tacit consent, no reversing decree of unjustifiable anger, could shake his fidelity or influence the resolutions it prompted. Affection. Splendid. Okay, let's see. Doing so good. Okay. Oh, parks. Nope, not that one. Okay. Well, I don't know where the picnic is. Nope. Shopping with Mary. Erin's in town. That's the thing with her. Okay, those are colors. Oh, that's where the picnic is. Okay, let's do the picnic. You and your childhood friends have been invited to attend Tom's quiet picnic. Tom's 2 carriages arrive outside your house at the appointed time. Your host opens the door at the foremost carriage and greets you with his usual smile. Catherine, lovely day for a picnic. Indeed, I commend you on your foresight, Tom. Thank you for your invitation and for being kind enough to arrange our transportation. Tom helps you into the carriage and you discover it is already full. Mary and Phoebe are sitting next to each other and you take the remaining seat next to Tom. Once seated, Tom knocks in the driver's direction with his walking stick and the carriage takes off. Excellent! With Miss Fairfield here, our little party is finally complete. A little party indeed. I thought you had more friends than those with whom you shared nursery tales, Tom. Oh, yes, but this is just a small picnic, a simple gesture for my oldest, closest, and dearest friends. I'm quite pleased it's just the 4 of us. Imagine if you had invited Mr. Digby and Mrs. Norris. The day would become such a bore. I suppose, but it is rather peculiar nonetheless. Peculiar or no, I've asked Cook to arrange a number of our favorite dishes. Put together with the lovely views we're about to see, well, it will be a spectacular day. Phoebe seems a little uncertain, but Mary and Tom soon engage in a lively discussion about their most preferred picnic spots, and the rest of the journey passes by quickly. It's pretty. Look, there's a little squirrel. You arrive at your picnic location, which is a quaint clearing in the woods. Tom's men, who traveled separately, have laid out the plates of food and are ready to pour the cups of tea. Oh my, this is lovely! I hadn't thought you capable of properly preparing for such an occasion, Tom. How you wound me! Glancing at Phoebe, but I have attended so many picnics with close friends, I suppose it was time to host my own. And you have done splendidly, dear Tom. I quite agree with Mary. I was a little doubtful at first, but you have proven yourself a capable host. I prefer more substantial gatherings. I won't be so extravagant in my praise. No, we're fine. Phoebe remains silent and appears to be rather thoughtful. I don't know what to do with all these compliments. Save them for a rainy day, I suppose. I doubt that's necessary for you, dear Tom. I don't imagine a bit of rain would ever stop you from being so bright and cheery. And mischievous and rude. What was that? Oh, Phoebe? Sweetly and much more loudly. Bright and cheery indeed. To receive the sweet praise of Miss Ingram. How can you be so certain it was meant as such? You had enough confidence in me to accept my invitation, and that is compliment enough. She's blushing. I think that you, Mr. Winslow, are making too much of too little. Oh, and how much should I be making of the delightful color in your cheeks? Oh my goodness, it's happening. Man, we're like doing nothing for us this time, and we're just like getting these two together, which is delightful because they're cute. Goodness me, I much prefer it when you two are constantly bickering. No. Dear Phoebe, you do seem a little flushed. Perhaps Mary and I should excuse ourselves for the rest of the afternoon. None of these are good. Ugh, why can't this woman say anything nice? Oh my gosh. Perhaps Mary and I should excuse A little taken aback. Pardon me, I seem to have forgotten my role as host already. What would you like, Catherine, Mary, Phoebe? You take a look at the selection and decide on what you would like. Hot cocoa, cup of coffee, some tea. Let's have chocolate. Yes, indeed. And perhaps a little something to go with it. Just fill my plate with everything. The girls name their requests, and Tom obliges on each account, displaying the qualities of an attentive and well-organized host. Look at him growing up. When you are all settled with your respective beverages and plates, the conversation becomes light, albeit a little stilted. As the afternoon progresses, the blue sky gradually becomes overrun by clouds. Tom seems a little concerned and begins to fidget. Phoebe, would you care to take a turn about the woods? I know you're fond of this area. Hesitantly, it looks like it might rain, and I wouldn't like to be caught in the downpour if it can be avoided. But a walk is rather beneficial to one's well-being, I do insist. Oh, all right, so long as Mary and Catherine don't mind. Mary and Catherine seem to be quite content where they are. If you would join me alone, perhaps? I would much prefer it if we all went together. Mary? With a twinkle in her eye, Tom is correct. I am quite content now, and I have no inclination to move. Phoebe gives Mary an exasperated look before turning to you. Catherine, would you please accompany us? Yes, I will, though I feel a little sluggish, so I might be lagging behind. Thank you so much, Catherine. The three of you set out for your walk, while Mary stretches out on the picnic blanket and closes her eyes with a smile on her face. Let's see what happens. As you, Phoebe, and Tom walk through the woods, the sky overhead begins to darken. Your two companions are silent, and the air is thick with unspoken words. Maybe they should break their own silence? Oh, Phoebe, I'm so sorry about my terrible behavior to you lately. How I wish to make amends. Walk towards the couple so your presence cannot be ignored. Wordlessly take a few steps aside to admire some foliage. Let's do that. Despite having politely distanced yourself, you can still hear every word being said. Good. Dear Phoebe, I thought long and hard about how to earn your forgiveness, but I was afraid this quiet little picnic mightn't be enough, though I know how you used to love them. When we were children, the four of us would happily spread ourselves around our own picnic blanket away from our parents. If we could be children again. Or rather, if I hadn't been so insufferable when I returned from boarding school. But I'm very fond of you, dear Phoebe, and if you are still fond of picnics, then I will become a practiced host and give you many, many picnics every year. I will give you anything you wish of me. What I mean to say, though I'm being quite rubbish What I mean to say, though I'm being quite rubbish at it, is this. Miss Phoebe Ingram, will you consent to marry me? As Tom delivers his proposal, you'll feel the first drop of rain fall on your cheek. This is followed by another and yet another. Oh, Tom, I cannot. I'm sorry. Pulling up her skirts, Phoebe turns and hurries back to the picnic site. The rain is beginning to fall harder, but Tom doesn't seem to notice. Try to catch up with Phoebe. Let's talk to Tom. He might need a little help. Tom stares vacantly after Phoebe and moves off in her direction before you can say a word. Wait, can we catch up with Phoebe? Soon after you reunited with your friends, you have become drenched with rain. The picnic has been hastily packed away, and the carriage awaits you for your journey home. That was kind of sham. At your return, Mama is not particularly pleased to see your sodden attire. Thankfully, Tom's apologies managed to appease her a little. Tom's proposal and Phoebe's subsequent refusal, however, weigh on your mind. Yeah, we need to fix this. Is that the only one? That's probably the one. Okay. Oh, Catherine, after Tom had seen both you and Phoebe home yesterday, he told me grimly what had happened on your walk. I had an inkling about Tom's intentions, but I thought he simply wanted to please Phoebe with the picnic, nothing more. Poor Tom, to be so refused, and you must have been privy to it all. Oh, but it is not right. Although Tom and Phoebe are constantly bickering, it is out of their mutual affection and regard. I think we should call on them to ensure they are not too distressed. I will go see Tom, for I fear he is in low spirits. Would you go see Phoebe? Yes, of course, for I care for her dearly. I only wish her the very best. I know you're good friends with Tom, but I suspect he would benefit from my uncouth jests and frank statements at present, and I think Phoebe would much prefer a visit from you. All right, let's go see Phoebe. It is settled then. Oh, I do hope there will be a happy resolution, whatever that might entail. All right. Where do we finish this? Mary calls. Nope, not that one. Here we go. Comforting a friend. You wish to comfort Phoebe after the recent events and have convinced her to take some fresh air with you near her house. Oh, pretty. Phoebe greets you with a silent nod, her eyes weary, her shoulders slouched, her face is a little sallow, and it appears it's been some time since she's had proper rest. take Phoebe's hand and offer your silent support. You look utterly unkempt. Distresses me to see you so upset. Is there anything at all that I could do for you? Phoebe begins to cry with loud, shuddering sobs. Oh my goodness. Let's try to reassure her. Eventually, Phoebe's sobs recede, though her face is still wet with tears. She dabs at it with a handkerchief. I never thought Tom would propose marriage to me, and yet when he did, as he had during the picnic, I don't think he even asked Papa for consent. It's just like Tom to be so brash and uncouth in his actions. Perhaps his ways require improvement, but I believe his intentions are true. But an offer of marriage, Catherine, surely he must be jesting. And do you stand by your refusal? Is that why you've been so upset? Because you believe his offer to be insincere? Or perhaps he is simply brave enough to follow his heart. And when has Tom done anything but follow his heart? And there's Mr. Brown. Oh, Catherine, Mama and Papa are both certain he will make an offer to me. He is quite lovely, really, and dependable and respected. Mr. Brown would be a very good husband, and I have no doubt we could live a moderately comfortable life. But is this what you truly desire? Would you be content with a life of moderate comforts? What of the strong passions between you and Tom? Would you turn your back on that? I fear those passions do more harm than good. I do not think I will be happy with such an unpredictability. I can foresee the kind of future I might have with Mr. Brown, but with Tom, who knows what Tom might say or do in a year or two. On the contrary, I think Tom has always been steadfast in his feelings for you. He has simply been incapable of expressing those affections. But he proposed to you, and I do not believe it was in jest. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen Tom Winslow as uncertain or as sincere. Do you really suppose so? Oh, Catherine, I do not know what I should think or do. Cannot make this decision for you. You must look in your heart, decide for yourself. I think you should reconsider your refusal. Over the years, you have made it evident to all of Darlington that Tom affects you so, but you no longer need to hide your feelings. I suppose you do know me rather well, dear Catherine. I thank you for your counsel, Catherine. I am truly grateful for your friendship. But I require some time alone with my thoughts. Thank you again, Catherine. Now kiss. Get together. I need you two together. Okay. You leave Phoebe to her thoughts and start making your way home. You have not walked for long when you encounter Tom, who appears to be heading toward the Ingrams' residence. Tom's appearance leaves a lot to be desired. You suspect he has not slept since you saw him last. Catherine, are you well? I'm a lot better than you, it seems. I hope you're not planning to call on Phoebe while you're in such a hard state. Yes, thank you, but you look quite unwell, poor Tom. Should you be out and walking when you appear as if you might faint? Have you gone to see Phoebe? How has she been faring? You are the last for... No. Oh, Tom, if only you had not taken so long to show her the depths of your concern and affection. And I intend to rectify that. Catherine, please believe me, I was sincere in my proposal. I know I've not been the most well-behaved where Phoebe is concerned, but she is very dear to me. Then you should show that in your actions. Speak to her father and gain his consent. Speak to Phoebe and hear what she has to say, and you must truly listen to her words, even if you might not like what you hear. That's for sure what he needs to do. Yes, I will show her until my feelings cannot be refuted. With renewed energy, Tom continues in the direction of Phoebe's house. Yes. There we go. Oh my gosh. I don't know. No, that's not it. Let's try these. Oh, dear Catherine, it is good to see you at last, for I've been wanting to speak to you since yesterday morning. Do you remember when I told you that Lambton Hall is being turned into a school? I don't think this has to do with Phoebe and Tom, but let's go anyway. Mrs. Norris very kindly informed Mama yesterday that she's been making inquiries about the new owner and whether or not he intends to take residence with his students. It happens that all her inquiries have been for naught, as the benefactor wishes to remain anonymous. There's no need for secrecy in Darlington. He perhaps. Yeah, we should go. Now that's quite an idea. How utterly scandalous it would be should we find out the identity of this proprietor. No one knows what kind of school he wishes to build, but it will certainly be large given the size of Lambton Hall. Mamma is rather shocked to think that a gentleman in our midst would want to provide an education for anyone who wishes it and bear all expenses himself. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong. Yeah, seriously. Oh, Catherine, you never cease to surprise me. I do so enjoy our talks, my dear friend. It is such a strange notion, though, that such a school will be soon open in our vicinity. I will surely let you know if there is any more news. Now, I believe you wanted to ask about the gardenias we keep. They can be rather difficult to cultivate. Mary becomes rather animated, though at times frustrated, as she describes her latest horticultural adventures. Oop. Okay, is it possible to finish not the Mrs. Norris, the Phoebe and Tom storyline today? Oh, Catherine, I happened across Mrs. Norris in town this morning, and she has given me the most extraordinary news. Do you remember all the hats and dresses Tom Winslow had purchased? Oh, yeah, I remember that. It so happens that Tom Winslow had intended them for dear Phoebe, only he had not known when or how to make a gift of them. And now our dear Phoebe has been equipped with a beautiful new wardrobe with all the latest fashions. Oh, to think of how marvelous that is! Of course, Mrs. Norris was a little skeptical about his intentions after hearing about Tom's rather improper marriage proposal, but it appears that he has spoken to Mr. Ingram and gained the required consent. And now, with his extravagant gift, how could anyone refuse him? Phoebe certainly didn't a second time. Oh, so she's accepted him. Tom must be so relieved. Even Mrs. Norris admits that there might be some true affection between the two, but then she became woeful about the havoc and scandal they will continue to cause in Darlington. I suppose only time will tell if they do indeed make a suitable match. I don't believe she has much to be concerned about. If they are to be married, I doubt they will continue to be a bickering couple. Yeah. Let's all hope you're right. Now, Catherine, with one of your friends securing matrimony, it is even more important for you to practice your accomplishments. Who knows whom you might meet at the nuptials? Oh boy. She is tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt me. I am in no humor at present to give consequence to the young ladies who are blanked by other men. Slighted. All right. Look at me go! Everything's at 25. Where's that last? Here we go. I think it's this one. On your way into town, you see two familiar figures walking side by side, arm's length. However, instead of the loud bickering that has become so strongly associated with this particular couple, they currently utter no sound. As they quietly walk on, you can sense their shared intimacy and affection, and their complete ease with each other. The couple eventually disappears from your sight, leaving behind the remnants of their calmness and contentment. The couple eventually disappears from your sight. Oh, that's the same thing. Yay! The end. They lived happily ever after. All right. So I feel like that's a pretty good place to leave it today. What have we done? We are amiable, compassionate, gentle, sensible, and spirited. And we've got everything at either 26 or 27, which is pretty good. It's fair, apparently. Awesome. So let's go ahead and save the game. Yes. All right, cool. So yeah, thanks for joining me for another episode. We didn't get to see Mr. Ashcroft too much, but I'm sure we'll see him more in the next episode. It looks like since I got the Phoebe and Tom what's it called storyline out of the way, I think we'll have a little bit more of like our own storyline. Although there's definitely some stuff coming up about Mary and the school, and of course there's the other suitors like storylines that you can pursue. But I think if I remember right, I just need to get in like really good with the sister a little bit, and then we get to start like actually like seeing Mr. Ashcroft. So yeah, but that takes a little bit more than an hour, clearly. So, all right. Anyway, that's all for today, and thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you all next time.